Guys, I messed up. Legend Competition 2 was only a week and a half long, and I didn't manage to play it at all until literally the last evening. You see, CrossWorlds is a great game, but too much of anything can make you sick, so I dedicated a proper week to not playing CrossWorlds or Rumble, and practiced my Shadow Generation speedrun for the event I was at during that weekend. If you ask me, I kind of fumbled that run, but it was only really the start. I got super nervous, but it was really cool getting to showcase my mod that's been in development for like a year now. If you want to catch this run, I'll leave a link down below for you to check out later, because we aren't here to talk about that. In fact, chilling with Argic actually reminded me that Legend Competition was even going on, so when I went home that night, it was literally the last night of the event, so I started stream, and I was determined to reach that Emerald rank in just 4 hours. Hi, I'm Snack, and if you don't know me, I love to make challenge videos on Sonic games. We're building up quite the library of CrossWorlds challenges so far, and I'm having a blast making them. So let's head into our next challenge, which is nothing more than a result of my stupidity. In Legend Competition 2, Sonic Team made it so you could only use gadgets that take up 1 slot. Mental how they chose this route instead of like actually addressing the core issues of the game, and Ultimate Charge doesn't even scratch the surface of that, but it does need addressed. A couple of videos ago, I got criticised for using a meta build in the challenge, which just wasn't the point of the video at all, but now there's no room for that since there really isn't a meta build for this one. So yeah, that covers everything. Let's get into it. Well, after the obligatory disconnect. I can already tell I'm gonna disconnect from this one. Ah, there you go. And another one! Everyone in the first race was lower than me. In Comp 2, you started at 1650 elo, and your first race is basically a rank determined race. I started off with a combination of Buster M and Super Shining, using Metal Sonic and the power of Ring Gain through Slipstreams and Tricks, Mini Ring Gain, and Wisp Chance Up. Which isn't as good as you think. Now, things were looking good in lap 1, to be absolutely horrendous in lap 2, sorry for the Voltra art conveniently blocking the placement, that wasn't intended. Anyways, 5th in race 1, you might think, oh, that's okay, right? Well, no. So earning the coveted Bronze Racer title, I swapped to a power vehicle and ran that for a while, and this was way more effective. Some advice that I was given is that the first 2 laps in any of these races do not matter, and for like 99% of the time, that did hold true. And that's because Wisp Chance Up is the only bagging gadget, easily weaved into every build in this mode, so you can in fact save up if you get fucked over in lap 2, which got me first. Now power cars are actually really good for this, and have many advantages, like having better acceleration than acceleration vehicles, and not losing range when bumping into other racers. But it very much went to show that skill doesn't really reward you in this game, given that I dodged a King Boom Boo, and then got shafted at the end of the race because I had to spend my shield to stop a Saw Blade. And we're back down to where we started. Running into BK, this would be free. And this one did in fact go well. Remember not to take the portal on the top route on the last lap, since it is a lot slower than going the normal path, even without the shortcut. And don't worry, I hate Legend Comp 2, because you really can get some shitty items when you're really far back. I will never understand the logic of giving us weights or King Boom at the far back, because it doesn't benefit the user at all. Why would hitting someone in 2nd matter when you're in 11th? Yeah, makes sense. Oh, item hoarding is still a huge problem, and there's a very easy fix for that. Make the respawn time for the capsules the same as it is in Grand Prix. Easy. Now, unlike most ranked modes in games I've played in the past, I honestly don't mind having most people in the lobby be a higher rank than me. And the reason being is that since you can easily win by luck, it means you beat a bunch of people higher than you, so you get loads of points. But the problem arises when it's the inverse, and you lose to a bunch of people lower than you because of bad luck, thereby losing a ton of points. But hey, plus 10 for a 3rd place finish isn't something to complain about. Now, like the last Risk of Rain 2 video, I was here for a long time, and I can't possibly talk about every single race, so let's talk about some iconic shit that happened during this, like the world's worst attempt at the Coraltown shortcut, which by the way was totally recoverable. I just hesitated so hard on the drill and then lost it to the Nickelodeon slime. I did get the drill again, but it didn't take me nearly far enough, and I got my first DNF of the night. For a bit of summarising on how I did before we switched builds, there was a good few top placements, some low placements, but overall, didn't feel horrible, and I was actually having fun. This screenshot is a power move. This entire thing is just a power move. Ball Slinger just beats everybody. By this point, we were just over an hour in, so let's review our progress and see how we... Some of the worst races in the set still resulted in a net gain, but if that was to be a consistent result, we would need to have a small net gain in 100 races on average. And that just isn't the result I'm going for here. A few more races passed before we decided to change builds, after another DNF. Or at least I thought I would change builds by this point, but it turns out I severely underestimated how long I stuck with this. But I did go on a very tiny rant as to why I should change car. Who would have thought that actually driving carefully might not be the worst thing ever, and you can just kind of not drift? Because if you drift too much, It's almost like you'll lose speed when you're not in a handling car. So use a handling car, Snack, not the point. So now we're more than 2 hours in, and after a 12th place finish, here are the results. We have just over 2 hours left, so what do we do now? Now, from what I remember, I didn't cling on to this build for too long, but after more than 2 hours, I'm only on a 20-point gain, so it really didn't matter what I used at this point. I think I want some How Are the Races, Snack? They're fucking shit, Colin. I'm getting my ass beaten every 2 minutes. I kinda lost faith in this build from the get-go since I gave up extended slips and air trick adept, gadgets that feel crucial in this competition. The extra ring gain from Ring Mercy doesn't even do much, since ring gain boost is only effective when you're like, already moving. Despite an only okay finish for the first race in the speed car, I kept it going for the next race, and then got absolutely railed at the final stretch, and got -10 for it. Diabolical. I will use the scoring sheet to wipe my fucking ass after the next shit I take. I took another short rant here about how the matchmaking works. It's as if when you lose some, you get placed against people lower than you to give you a so-called better chance of winning. But the ranking in this game is kind of artificial to an extent, and I say to an extent because it's not like players such as Expanso or Icy are as good as they are just by pure luck. What I mean is that you can get incredibly lucky, rendering the skill of so-called better players worthless. Meaning a better player got shit on and lost a ton of points. I came third in this race anyway, so I don't really know what I was complaining about. Well, I do actually, because the next match was the same fucking thing, which was looking good until the start of the final lap where I just got shredded.
That's quite big.
And then I didn't even know that the road up the tower has walls low enough for a bomb wisp to just fall off the sides. Kinda crazy, genuinely the first time I ever experienced this. But I had a really good race in Colourful Mall after Chronos, and with a +19, I was going to milk this win as much as I could, and take it to the next Colourful Mall, where I got the luckiest end to the race possible. Sorry, BK. But then only got a +14 for that one. Make it make sense, man, come on. This gadget set was actually proving to be quite reliable, so we kept going into Rainbow Garden with it, since this was the first chunk of progress we had made in the past 2 hours by this point. White Cave was a good CrossWorlds to get. There was just something about the time trial that completely changed my perspective on it. Oh, by the way, time trial video coming soon. In case you didn't know, this wall at the end of Rainbow Garden isn't actually off-road, so you can use it to make this turn at the end much better, and less risk of hitting the wall. Second place finish. Can't complain. Now, I stupidly used a boost wisp against a Dark Chow, but then I realised now was a perfect opportunity to throw the Saw Blade, since no one could defend themselves, and it worked. I got quite a lucky item set right at the end, and for some reason, after really consistent results, I swapped to an Extreme Gear. I changed out my gadget kit and swapped to Zavok. I wasn't entirely sure about using level 3 quick charge because the speed gain isn't actually different from level 2, it just lasts longer, but we went with this anyway. I was definitely feeling the fragility of a board instead of a car, especially when the crossword was Apatos and everyone would collide off each other. It was a great contender for a front-running build, but if you've got no defensive items, which you likely won't have, you're fucked at the end. So for the final hour and a half, we changed to Neolitron, back to Metal Sonic with the same gadget set we used as Zavok, and I can already say it was a lot more effective. I managed to stay ahead really well for the majority of the race, but as you may have guessed by now, the build you use does not matter. So, with an hour and a half to go, where are we? So, next up was my most hated map, Eggman Expo, and the race overall wasn't terrible. I tried to stay back whenever I could because the Wisp chance up allows for bagging really easily, so I took advantage when I could. This one actually turned out fairly well, and Platinum was looking within reach. Now as I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I don't like Chow Park, but I do like Drift Frenzies, especially with level 2 and 3 quick charges. You can just blitz through the crossworld and into a good spot for the final lap, which, to the surprise of no one, lasted all of about 10 seconds before I was boom booed, and then waited. Back in 5th place. The laser didn't do too great at the end, but at least it was only a 4-point loss. Apatos is the GOAT map for slipstreaming, but you didn't see the outcome of the race, and if you think you did, no, you didn't. Now, onto Crystal Mine. I tried going for that one shortcut, and I totally failed this on purpose so the item I'd get in 12th would be shit hot as a result. Grabbed a second item before skipping over the excavator, and what the actual hell was that distance from the laser? 3 boost wisps was possibly the best thing I could have in the final lap if I retained my placement, which I didn't. And part of me wishes I didn't defend the Dark Chow, but at the same time, I don't think there would have been enough time to use it. Still a net gain despite being in 5th. Most people in that lobby were higher than me, so I'd be surprised if I did lose anything. Ooh, a shield and a boost wisp? Is it my birthday? Well, that was fucking stupid, wasn't it? I've actually grown quite fond of Dumpy Factory, and Holiska has always been a favourite crossword of mine. This race overall ended up being really favourable for me. Snack on top, plus 17 points. This is looking good. We literally have 1 hour to go by this point, and we are really not far off. If we can lock in, this is 100% doable. One thing that does really work is not panicking about literally anything within the first lap, like I mentioned earlier. Shout out to Argent for that one.
Doing Spindrift?
Except at the end of the first lap, I got boom-booed and saw-bladed one after the other. Ocean View didn't work out great, but at least I was able to bag a drill wisp, defending the Nickelodeon slime, and almost get first. But still, it was a really good race, and I snagged second place. With my recent high placements, the game started to really give me higher leveled ups, but unfortunately saving a laser for right at the end wasn't enough, and my streak was over. Despite the setback, we kept going. And despite the unluckiest fall ever, I didn't give up. And despite coming 11th, I still didn't give up. I was really tweaking at this point. I was running on about 4 hours of sleep, and having been up since 9 in the morning, I really could have done with popping a monster before attempting this, and you could tell. So that was another 11 points down the drain, basically right back to where we started since the streak began. In the E-Stadium CrossWorld, I got so lucky twice, being just out of reach of the weights, and then having a saw blade just miss me. But the luck didn't continue into the final lap as much as you might think it would have. We got third, and though there were bots, the point gain was still decent. Going into the snack sandwich in Rainbow Garden, it seemed like whatever the outcome was here would be tolerable. Lots of points if we placed high, but not detrimental if we placed low. I had the cleanest dodge of a monster truck at the start of the last lap, which didn't end up mattering since I got close not long afterwards. A third place finish was actually really good here, and it was getting us close to platinum again. But, as you can imagine, having only 30 minutes left and still needing over 100 points, yeah, it's not looking good. Here's a summary of the remaining races. I was forced to go over the chrono shortcut without a boost, and had to avoid using the one I was granted during. Otherwise, I'd have taken damage. I did my best to bag the laser in Sweet Mountain and use it towards the end with lackluster results, to say the least. I tried to avoid the King Boom Boo in the last lap, and looking back, I have no idea why I thought that was smart at all, but using the laser through the shortcut only got us to 7th place. I tried my hardest to save the shield I got in lap 1 of Apatos, and when a rocket was approaching me, I managed to get it to hit somebody else, but still used the shield in panic. At the CrossWorlds portal though, I think it would have vanished either way, so that shield was a waste. But, like everyone rushing past you to get to lunch at school, I got shit on at the end of the race anyway, and we only got 8th. I always hate races where we get Kraken Bay, and it's purely because there's so little grounded racing on it. And a lot of the strats for one-slot gadgets are better suited to the ground. A decent set of items led to a shield and 3 wisps when heading back to Metal Harbour, and things were looking good. No idea why I used the shield when I did, and then at the end, I was truly prepared to give up. Thankfully, Molly probably agreed. They're in my friends list, shout out Molly, they're really good. Sand Road may be so gutted that defensive item chance up is 2 slots, not 1, because I got so lucky with the shield that I ended up using pretty much right away, and yet again, can't understand why. But despite being neck and neck at the end, we still got second. I bagged a laser wisp just in case I needed it, which I did because I went completely off course on White Cave. Despite it still being a pretty good shortcut and getting another one to the end, I ended up that race in 8th. I've become a lot better at Pumpkin Mansion over the past while despite hating on it on launch. The shortcuts at the end are really fun to pull off, and I came second, thanks to the Void Wisp protection. And for the final race of the night in Colourful Mall, things were looking pretty good. I managed to trail behind the racers taking the shortcut, so it was nice and clean for me. And after a pretty rough CrossWorld, Omochao wasn't the worst item to have up front in the final lap. Grabbing a tornado as well, things were looking bright. I defended a red rocket, got a shield right at the end, and came first in the final lap. What a way to finish. So, overall, where did we finish? Yeah, not a bad placement, but not our overall goal. So, with just 4 hours remaining, can you reach Emerald rank in Legend Comp in CrossWorlds? You probably could, but take it from me, don't leave it this late, it is not worth it.
They spend millions on advertising, and then people are getting money out of it, and then people are saving money out of it, and that makes sense, but the other part doesn't make sense, and then something's going on here. Where's all this money coming from?